Color books are different from black and white books in several ways. In this video, I'll discuss some of these differences, including color book sizes, page count requirements, design guidelines, and book pricing information. When publishing in color, you're also going to need to know about CMYK color space and bleed space, so I'll go over these two terms as well. First, let's talk about color book sizes. Currently, Ex Libris offers three sizes: a square format, which is 8.5 by 8.5 inches, a portrait-oriented format, which is 8.5 by 11 inches in size with the binding on the long side, and a landscape-oriented format, which is 11 inches by 8.5 in size with the binding on the short side. Color books can be printed with as few as 24 pages and as many as 250 pages. Please note that when we refer to a page, we are talking about one side of the paper. A 24-page book, for example, would appear to contain 12 pieces of paper, but since we print on both sides of that paper, there are actually 24 pages of content. The final page count for your book must be divisible by 4. We will add however many blank pages are necessary to the end of your book to meet this requirement. For example, if your book ends up having 21 pages of content, we will add 3 blank pages at the end of your book to make it 24 pages total, which is divisible by 4. The last page of your book must be blank. Your book will be perfect bound, where the pages are glued to the inside spine of the cover. Color books are more expensive to make than black and white books, and this is reflected in the book pricing options. The more pages your color book has, the higher the selling price will be, especially through the retail channel. For this reason, you might want to keep your color book's page count as low as possible. If you're publishing a children's book, we strongly recommend keeping between 24 and 48 pages in order to price your book competitively. When you want an image to fill a page or extend all the way to one or more edges, this is called a full bleed. When we make an image full bleed, we have to take it 1/8 of an inch beyond where the page will be cut at the printer. This 1/8 inch of space is called bleed space. Bleed space is necessary because when the printer cuts the final book block, there is a 1/8 inch of variance where the blades will fall. Any visual information in this outer 1/8 inch of bleed space will likely be cropped off during the printing process. If you have vital information in the outer 1/8 inch of your images, you probably won't want to make them full bleed. When the design team has finished the interior of your book, you will be able to see the bleed space designated with a gray line around the edges of the pages. Anything outside this gray line will probably be cropped at the printer. If you're afraid to have the image cropped, then the only other alternative is to keep the image safely within the text margins. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to position images anywhere between full bleed and the text margins. In most cases, we will encourage you to go full bleed. At first, you might be a little disappointed to have your images slightly cropped, but your readers will probably never know the difference, and they'll love to see your images fill the page. When laying out the content of your color book, your design team will do the best they can to position your images where they are supposed to go. There are several factors that will determine your book's layout possibilities. The most limiting factor is often the size and resolution of the images. For a children's book, you should submit your images at 300 ppi resolution and at a size larger than the book you are publishing, adding 1/4 inch of bleed space at the top, bottom, and outside edge of the final page size. If your images aren't bigger than the final page size, your design team won't be able to consider doing any full bleeds. If you intend to place text on top of your images, please do not send them in that way. Send the text and images separately, with image placement instructions in the manuscript. Or you can submit the text and image in a layered file format, such as Photoshop. If we cannot pull your text and images apart, this could lead to complications or delays in your book's production. Additionally, if you're putting text on top of your images, please be sure to give enough room for the text. Keep in mind that your text should not get any closer than 1 inch from the edge of your image, or we will not be able to make the image full bleed. Another thing to keep in mind is the layout of facing pages, also called double page spreads. In some books, particularly children's books, the text and images are meant to be across from each other on facing pages. When reviewing the interior your design team has assembled, keep in mind that even number pages will always be left-facing, and odd number pages will always be right-facing. Page 1, for example, will always be a right-hand page. After you turn that page, pages 2 and 3 will be facing each other, and then pages 4 and 5 will be across from each other, and so on. RGB stands for red, green, blue, the primary colors of light. This is the color space used by image scanners, digital cameras, computer monitors, and all other devices that involve light emitting from a source. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, black, the primary colors of pigment. CMYK is the predominant color space used in the printing industry where colors are not backed by light. Any color images that appear on your cover or inside a color book must be CMYK. It is best if you can convert your images to CMYK yourself so you can see exactly how the images will look before you send them to us. Otherwise, we will perform a standard color mode conversion on your images to make them CMYK printer compliant. The difference between RGB and CMYK usually isn't noticeable in photographs, but you may notice a slight color variation in a rich background color or in colors that approximate a neon effect. These vibrant RGB colors won't look bad when converted to CMYK, but they will look different, usually a little more subdued. Our printers will do everything possible to ensure your book's colors are printed as accurately and consistently as possible. There is, however, an acceptable narrow range of color variants that printers use as a guideline. Blues will remain blue and reds will remain red, but you may see a small variance in the color's brightness or hue, especially in books printed at different times or at different printers. You may even notice such slight differences in other books, greeting cards, or printed materials at retail stores. Slight difference within the allowable variants are a normal part of the printing process. If you have any questions or concerns about publishing in full color, please contact customer service at 1-888-795-4274.